parable of the prodigal son is one that you may have heard before, either in church or from your parents in a Sunday school lesson, maybe even from a book. This story is told by Jesus about a son who goes to his father, and when he goes to his father, he asks his father for his inheritance. An inheritance is what is owed to you when one of your parents dies, and so he's asking for the money that he would have been given if his father had died. So with this money, he goes off and lives his own life. And with this life, he sins a lot, and he does not use his money wisely. He's spending it on bad things, and he ends up losing all of his money. Since he doesn't have any money, he doesn't want to go home because he feels like he's a failure. So he goes and gets a job. Now, this job wasn't really ideal. He was working in a pig pen and feeding the pigs. That's all his job was. He got to feed pigs and live with the pigs. At one point, during his work there, he looked at the food that he was feeding the pigs, and it looked tasty to him. He really wanted to eat the food that the pigs were eating. And at this point, he started thinking, the servants that my father has back home, they eat better than this. I should just go back home and beg my father to be one of his servants, because I know he would never take me back for what I've done to him. So, the prodigal son journeys home, and when he gets home, his father sees him, and he kneels to the ground just as depicted in the images that I'm showing you, and he starts to ask his father if he can be a servant. He is apologizing and crying, and his father reaches out and hugs him. His father isn't mad. He's happy that his son is home. He then tells a servant near him that they need to kill the biggest cow that they have, so that they can have a feast that night. And the prodigal son's brother hears about this. This brother that has been here the whole time, he didn't leave, he didn't ask for his inheritance, he has been by his father's side this entire time. He's been working hard, being a good son, and now his father is throwing a party for the brother that left them all and spent all of their money. So this son, the brother that's been working so hard, talks to his father and says, I don't understand why you would be throwing a party for this man that took everything. You should disown him. You shouldn't be loving him. You should throw me a party because I've been good. I've been faithful to you. And he says, we need to celebrate. My son is home. So after reading this story again, I went and asked my family some questions. First, I asked my sister. So Ashley,
yes.
What would you do if I ran away with all of Mommy's money and then I came back like 5 years later and was like gross and poor, and and Mommy just took me back with open arms? What would you do?
I would probably be a little upset, just like the older brother, just because, like,
So what would you say to me if Mommy was like so happy that I was back and I finally got time to talk to you alone? What would you say to me?
I don't know.
Would you be happy to see me at all?
I mean, it depends on how you left on terms with me.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you were like, bye, I don't like you anymore, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would probably be like, you, like, totally abandoned all of us.
Yeah.
Like, you were super selfish and you just didn't care about what happened to us.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So you don't think it's fair that Mommy would accept me back with open arms?
I mean, I think because the answer that you want is that yes, it's fair, obviously.
But what is the answer that's on your mind?
Probably, I would feel like you need to earn it back in some way, because I mean, it's not fair. It's a mean thing. You need to ask for forgiveness in some way, you know.
So Ashley's saying that as me, the prodigal son or daughter, she would need to talk to me and say, just because you're back does not mean I should just forgive you. And that's what we do with our friends sometimes. It's really hard to forgive sometimes, and that's okay because we're human. But God, who in this story is the Father, forgives automatically once we come back to Him, which is the grace and power of Jesus Christ. So while my siblings may not feel like they can forgive me until I earn that forgiveness back, God forgives us right away. And nothing's wrong with any of that. Nothing's wrong with not being able to forgive. We need to do all of this in our own time. So next I went and talked with my mother about this, and what she would do as the father in this situation, if I were to take all of her money, run off, and then come back. And I encourage you guys to also ask your parents and siblings about this, and ask them how they relate to this story. Do they compare themselves to the father, the prodigal son, or the brother that wants a party for himself? Mommy, so if I were to ask you for a bunch of money and then leave you after you've given me that money for a really long time, and then come back all gross, would you forgive me and take me back?
Of course I would.
Why is that?
Because that is the way God would want me to do and forgive people.
But would you want to?
Well, of course.
Why is
You're
that?
my child. And I love you. We all make mistakes.
So, as my mom said, everyone makes mistakes. We all do. We're human. We're all sinners. And that's why, as children of God, God will always take us back with open arms. Because we are His children, and He loves us. As long as we are asking God for forgiveness for our sins and coming back to Him, He still loves us. He still forgives us every time. And that's the message I want you guys to remember. Don't forget to ask your parents or siblings how they compare themselves to this story. And I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. If you let your parents know that you want to email me, I'll put my email at the end of this, or you can send me a message on Facebook. Okay, I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope you guys thank your parents for loving you.